We're going to the Morgantown plant. It's owned by the Mirant Power Company. It's one of the biggest polluters in the East Coast of the United States. About 100,000 tons of sulfur dioxide a year. It's now putting on a scrubber because the state law requires it to put a scrubber on by basically by the end of next year, or by the beginning of the next year. So they are finally starting to clean up, but this is a company that has fought the Clean Air Act for many years, and the law is finally catching up to them about 20 years later than it should have. When I left EPA, I still wanted to do enforcement, even though I couldn't do it in the government. I wanted to do it from the outside. In the United States, public interest groups, citizens can bring their own enforcement actions. We looked at this company because we thought they had a lot of violations, and they were very resistant to the law. They were, when we tried to make the law stronger in Maryland, they came to the legislature and opposed it. Whenever we pointed out violations, they would say, no, we're exempt, it's allowed. They fight everything. And in fact, they have a power plant right next to the city of Washington that is causing the air quality standards to be violated, and that's documented. And at one point, the city was trying to close it, trying to order the plant to close because it is a health hazard. And the energy agency ordered it to reopen because they said, well, the city needs the power. We have the Pentagon and all the federal agencies, and so they were allowed to continue. Technology is there from the mid-1980s, so really almost 25 years ago. What happened is the law has a loophole, right? An escape mechanism. If you're an old plant, we call it a grandfathered plant, you can avoid the regulations unless you make a change to the plant. And if you make a change to the plant that pushes emissions up, then you have to put on the scrubbers. And what we were arguing at EPA is that's what these plants are doing. You know, they're very old coal plants. They can't run forever. The only way they can keep going is by making these improvements, these physical improvements, and they're doing that, increasing capacity, bringing the equipment back online. And every time they do that, they increase emissions. That's a violation. They need to put scrubbers on. The industry said no. We fought them and fought them and fought them. You know, there were lawsuits filed. That's when the Bush administration came in and pulled us back. We get half our electricity from plants like that one, and they are an enormous source of carbon dioxide emissions, maybe 35% of the carbon dioxide emissions in the U.S. from plants like the one behind me. Also other kinds of pollution. You know, we're talking about carbon dioxide, but you have to think about sulfur dioxide. That's getting cleaned up at this plant, although many years later than it should have. The plant also will generate thousands and thousands of tons of ash. The ash can be very toxic. It has to be disposed of. It's not regulated very well. For this company has dumped some of its ash next to a wetland, and the toxic metals have gotten into the wetland. You have to look at how coal is mined. Those practices can be very devastating to the environment. So if you look at the whole life cycle, you can start with carbon, which is you know, the biggest issue in front of us right now in the United States. But look at all the other environmental impacts of coal. And if you do that, you'll come away saying, you know, we have to find something else. You know, this is this is the fuel for the last century. You know, it's done its job, and we need to move on.